Hello and welcome to a far more traditional version of the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today's Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, 7/11. So let's go ahead and get right into the data. There's a lot we're going to look at, including some satellite images, or at least one satellite image. Okay, first slide. All right, so this says 24-hour average. It actually goes all the way back to about July 6th. It's time to sort of catch up, see how we've been doing for a good portion of this month. So PJM Penelec, this is where the Scrubgrass power plant is located. Average grid price of about $35.60. By the way, these grid prices, as you'll see in the next slide, do not tell the whole story. PJM PP&L, that's the PJM portion of the grid that's in eastern Pennsylvania. It's where Panther Creek is located. Average grid price, going back numerous days here, about $27.11. Bitcoin priced in dollars per megawatt hour. This, as usual, is a really important number, $82.10. That's actually fantastic as an average going all the way back to July 6 or so. Spot price of Bitcoin going again back numerous days here, $30,277. The network hash rate hovering at about 417 during that period of time. Okay, back to me, please. So, as I alluded to, the grid prices themselves don't really tell the whole story, okay? The reason I say that is because grid prices lately, and by lately I mean like the last couple of weeks, have really been spiking. The price of natural gas has been moving closer and closer to $2, and I think we're starting to see some of that price movement correspond with spikes in grid pricing, which also kind of like coincides with there being warmer weather here in Pennsylvania. So let's pull up the next slide, please. Okay, take a look at this. So this is basically just today, okay? So this is the Penelec portion of the PJM grid on the left-hand side and the PP&L portion of the PJM grid on the right-hand side. If you notice that green line that's kind of squiggles around there, you'll notice that there are portions of time during the day where those grid prices are, pretty well in excess of 60 some odd dollars a megawatt hour. I mean, this is just a relatively small, not at all representative sample of what it has looked like over, multiple days here. But just so you get a sense, above 40, above 50, above 60, you're really starting to see those spikes. Back to me, please. So the reason why those spikes are so important is because here's the thing. Stronghold Digital Mining, in many ways, is like the ultimate energy arbitrage machine. So if you've been a friend of mine here on these updates, for any length of time, you know that we've chatted about this, right? How we can pretty much, within seconds, shut down, so to speak, the data centers and divert 100% of the electricity that we're producing at either, Scrubgrass out in western Pennsylvania or Panther Creek here in eastern Pennsylvania. We can redirect all of that electricity that we're producing directly to the PJM grid. And we can do so for, very, very lucrative and very useful amounts of revenue. And that type of optionality really starts to become a factor when we start seeing grid prices that are kind of moving a lot more the way we're seeing them move. So that's really important to keep in mind. As I said, that little snapshot, it doesn't tell the full story, because if you go back numerous days, I mean, there have been times where we've been somewhat elevated over even like $100 a megawatt hour, in terms of grid pricing, which is really, really advantageous for us. Okay, now, I was carefully reviewing, I believe it's Landsat 9 satellite imagery, and I believe these are panochromatic images, sorry about that. It's kind of like black and white. Let's go ahead and pull up that slide right now. So, as you can see, this is not exactly, and depending on how bright your screen is or not, you may or may not be able to discern what's on the screen here, but this is an overhead view of the Scrubgrass power plant. Okay, back to me now, please. Now, the reason why we are looking at that particular type of image, or at least why I'm looking at that type of image, is because it's a fairly recent satellite image. You know, maybe like from like about maybe like 10 days ago or so. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but it's relatively recent. And what we've really been doing is trying to discern if there's any evidence of any type of like solar energy project that potentially might be in the works on the Scrubgrass property. It's about a 600 plus acre parcel of land upon which this beautiful, incredibly amazing, waste coal reclamation facility, which is kind of like a power plant, sits on. And there was a regulatory filing that appeared in the Pennsylvania Bulletin a while back that referenced potentially some type of solar energy facility at this site. So this is still, I don't want to front run, any potential news, right, that might come out in the near future. But, I think many of us have been kind of curious as to whether or not there, potentially be any like movement of Earth or, what really might be going on there. I really can't, and I studied that very carefully, comparing it to like other images, and we're not going to do that in this video, in the interest of time. But I don't know that I see a whole lot of evidence yet of any sort of like construction project taking place. Now, all of that being said, I suspect that and there is a permitting process, if I'm not mistaken, and I have been checking with county government websites, looking, at, meeting minute notes, right, to see if I'd find anything. And I got to sort of dig back into those notes to check out what's been going on, say, the past couple of months. But I wanted to just at least initially look at the satellite imagery, see if there was anything really obvious, like, oh my gosh, the Earth has been moved, like something's really going on here. So we'll have to see. I think that if there were to be a definitive decision to move ahead with a solar energy project at Scrubgrass, I suspect we'd probably get an announcement, which would then subsequently be followed up with like additional actual work on the ground. I don't know that we're going to see a situation where it's like suddenly there's a solar energy facility that's built, and then all of a sudden there's an announcement, hey, by the way, we built this. I don't, you know what I'm trying to get at? I just think strategically it might make more sense, and it's more likely that we're going to get an announcement when things are more definitive. If, and this is a really big if, I've said from day one, this is highly speculative on my part to even suggest that this is, something that's going on. But again, there was something in the Pennsylvania Bulletin that referenced this, so it's not complete speculation, that's like unfounded completely. I mean, there is some evidence to suggest that there's at least some thought being given to potentially creating a solar energy facility at Scrubgrass. So we will have to see. But I thought I'd just share that. Satellite imagery, it's like a fascinating topic. I'm learning more and more about this. But anyway, bottom line, I don't know that I see any evidence of anything being built as of yet. Okay. The stock price, I've kind of looked a couple of times today. I think we, so far, right, volume of over 2 million shares. We've been kind of all over the place with regard to the stock price. Look, the stock's going to do, as I've said so many times before, it's going to do what it's going to do. I think I've exhausted what I've needed to say about where I think valuation should be compared to kind of like where we are right now. But you know what? The market's going to do its thing. What we certainly can do is stay positive. We can, of course, always strive to be great, and we can commit to seeing each other again tomorrow for another update, and we'll kind of see what's going on at that point. All right. See you then.